Hi everybody! Miranda Madison here, Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Minnesota. And I was so close to having things all the way prepped, but I have partial things prepped for tonight. So, a couple things I wanted to talk about were there is just a little bit longer for that Blended Seasons bundle that's only available for the month of August. And that also includes the limited time, hi Lynn, the limited time for the watercolor pencils. This is the second, the assortment number 2 that are only available this month. And so we have until August 31st to snag these before they are gone. There is a little bit of a chance that they will be in an upcoming catalog, but they haven't told us which catalog that will be or how long it will be. So thanks, Lynn. I appreciate it. So we are going to work on some fun cards tonight that I was just going through my catalog, and one of my favorite things to do when I am looking at our annual catalog is find cards that I really think are fun and try to either switch them up or recreate them to make them something that I want to do. And so some of them are not super different from the catalog, and I'll show you the pictures in the catalog because all of them are out of the annual catalog that we're working on tonight. But I have 3 cards almost ready to go, so we will see what we get accomplished tonight. I'm hoping to do some Brusho tonight because it's been a while since I did some Brusho, but I did not practice it. So we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to look up just to make sure I can read comments and things while we're going here. But if you are joining us live, I would love it if you would let me know who's here so that I can just say hello. And maybe... oh, awesome. Welcome, Sherry. So we're just going to jump right in and get to crafting tonight. So we will see if I can keep watching comments. Hi, Susan. So tonight, we will probably start with one of the watercolor cards. And just so that we have enough time for them to dry. Watercoloring is one of my favorite techniques when it comes to stamping and crafting, and so I like to do that as often as I can. And then I have a couple that are watercoloring, and then one that's just a really simple quick thank you card that you could put together really super fast. So I'm going to grab my camera and flip you over so that we can get to creating tonight. So let me grab these things here and we will flip you over. All right. Now I have not moved this stand at all, so I'm hoping that it remembers that it likes me. So I'm going to do my cord really fast here. There we go. And so we will see how straight we are. Pretty good. Hello, Carol. So we are going to sort of recreate this card here. I love how the Brusho and the colors are really bright with that Poppy Parade. I had to remember what that card was. Thanks, Carol, for sharing too. I appreciate it. I hope you guys like what we're going to work on tonight. So I do not have this border piece, and I didn't even get a chance to find what I want for it. So maybe this will be a place where if you guys have a suggestion, I can look and see if I've got it, and we will go from there. But right now I have already done our embossing. I did some of those beautiful flowers from the Beautiful Promenade stamp set already on our watercolor paper, just because since we did embossing last week, I thought that you guys already kind of watched how I do that. The next one, since we're here, I'll show you a little bit. The next one I wanted to recreate is this "You're the Best" card from page 125. I love that background. Hi, Julianne. That background Thinlit from the Beautiful Layers Thinlits dies, this one right here. And so I thought that would be a really simple but beautiful chance to use watercolor in the background, but yet do a really simple thing on the front. So I'll hold that up a little bit close again so that you can see what that looks like. And we are focusing on thank you cards tonight. So all 3 of the cards are going to have thank you in their sentiment. So the third one that we're going to do, the one that's really, really simple, is this card here. And I'm changing the stamp out, and we are going to use the thank you from the Stitched All Around suite. And I have already cut out most of the pieces, so this will just be, I thought I would walk through what I have used, and I'll try to talk through it as I go, but I thought I would give you a little bit of a viewing of what we're going to work on tonight. So I'm going to grab, since we're going to start with the watercolor, I'm going to grab a piece of scratch paper. Hopefully I have one close. There we go. Because I did not grab it beforehand. So I'm just going to sneak a couple of pieces here, just of printer paper that I have close by. And we will pull out our Brusho. Now, I haven't used our Brusho in so long because I've been playing with all of our new stuff and stuff that hasn't even come out yet that I've been a little bit distracted. So we're going to use both of the colors that they used in the catalog because I thought they were so pretty together. And so what we're going to do is I'm just going to set those up there for a second. And hi, Lauren and Shelly. Brusho is something that I really, really love. But it definitely, you have to go into it with the mindset that it's going to do whatever it wants. You are never going to get the same thing 2 times. And if you have a really clear vision in your head of what you want it to do, you might be a little disappointed. So I'm going to see if I can zoom. Last time I tried, it was mad at me and didn't want to. But maybe if I do it, if I sneak the, let's see. It is, oh yay, there we go. I won't zoom in too much so that you can see the rest of the card when I'm making it, because I think if I remember right, it didn't work the last time I tried to zoom out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my cardstock here, and actually I did not fill this up very much, so hopefully we won't need too much. I just have my Stampin Spritser here, and I'm so sorry, I was trying to bump you away. So I'm just going to take my Stampin Spritzer and spray the watercolor paper just a little bit. I did just a couple squirts. And I'm using the Brilliant Red, and I'm just going to kind of shake it. And that probably was a little bit more than I needed to. And then I'm going to do a little bit of the yellow as well. Now with the Brusho, I have just put a tack in the top of it to seal it, and I don't even open the side because it is super fine powder and it doesn't need a ton. So because I put water on there already, it kind of gave it something to hold on to, but I want to use just a couple more sprays just to remind it what it's doing. If I could spray it in the right location. So that is literally all I'm going to do to it. And I'm just going to let let it dry and see how it reacts. Because I kind of like the speckling that happens. And so because I embossed with the white embossing powder first, it's like an emboss resist kind of thing. So this is going to take probably a little while to dry, and because I wasn't super prepared, I do not have a backup that is already done. So that is one of the reasons why I did the other cards that I did, because I thought this one, even if it takes a while to dry, I'm going to do a little bit more at the bottom, just hopefully it won't spread it too much, but there we go. That's good. If we set it aside to dry and it's not quite finished by the time we're ready for it, then I will get out my heat tool and kind of help it along a little bit. But I really like what it is doing so far, and we will just see how it goes. So I'm going to set that aside on my other counter over here, and we will work on the next watercolor card, which is this thank you card. And this one, I just cut out a piece of our watercolor paper that is 4 inches by 3.5. And what we're going to do is this card, I think I want to switch it up. The other one is a really a smaller square card, but I don't tend to have enough room to write my letters to people because I get a little long-winded when I'm sending cards out. So I want to go vertical on a full-sized A2 sized card, which is 8.5 by 5.5 that I have cut and scored at 4.25. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that piece of watercolor paper, and I'm going to get another piece of scratch paper and my aqua painter. And you guys know how much I love my aqua painters. I don't even think I've taken the other one out of the container yet after purchasing it. So I use it all the time. I want to choose a couple of colors that are complementary to our mint macaron color that we're going to use. Hi, Kayla. And so I think we're going to go with Coastal Cabana, because that's a fun card. And I think I want a blue, like a darker blue tone. That would be fun too. And I think I might even do maybe don't want it to clash with it. Let's see if we could do maybe a purpley. I don't know if that would be a complementary color. Maybe Bermuda Bay. That's probably the closest, most complementary color. So we'll do these because they'll kind of blend into each other really nicely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to squish my ink pads. I do have an old one and a new one if you want to see what the difference is between the two. I find that the old ones will do a lot more of this with a lot less squeezing. This one I feel like I have to like make really hard in between just to make sure that they go. They are easier to open, but I have to work a little bit harder to get the kind of consistency in the ink that I want. So when I'm doing a watercolor wash on the background, I want to use my lighter color first, and I want to go along my watercolor paper pretty generously with the aqua painter, making sure that the whole area is really wet before I even go in and get my color, because it if it's dry, it'll leave a lot more streak lines in there, I found, and this, it looks a lot more like a wash, and that they're not as harsh, the lines. So I want more coverage at the bottom and less on the top, so I'm going to keep going over the bottom here and just add more of this color as I go. And this will dry. Hi, Teresa. This will dry a lot quicker than if you're using the spritzer. But if it's not finished by the time we need it to be done, we'll just pull out my heat tool and heat it up real quick. I have it close by still. So I'm just going to close up that Coastal Cabana so that I'm not tempted to use it. So now I'm going to wet up the bottom half here, and then we can get started with our second color, the Bermuda Bay, and that is super, super pretty. So we're going to start at the bottom of this one as well, because that's where we want the most saturation to happen. And we're just going to brush that across. I've heard a couple of friends lately say that they are watercoloring is not their thing, and it's intimidating to them. And so I wanted to show a couple of things that don't have to have a lot of work to it, and it doesn't have to have like a perfect image that you're trying to fill in, or you're trying to paint these beautiful, beautiful things. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll show a couple of things with a wash or something like that isn't too tricky, but that anyone can do. So this is our Coastal Cabana with our Bermuda Bay, and I'm just putting a little bit more color at the bottom there. So then I just clean out my aqua painter by running it until it's clear, brushing it till it's clear, and it's ready for the next time. So we're going to set that aside, and I will use a tissue again. And I'm sorry, my allergies are going crazy right now. I feel like this summer has been the worst that my allergies have ever been. And it's funny because my husband and my daughter, their bad season is coming, because fall is when their allergies are mean to them. So I'm hoping that mine stop when theirs begin, because if I have to deal with it at the same time as theirs, I'm gonna be really sad. I'm ready for a little bit of a break. So I'm just gonna set this aside just to let it dry a little bit, and we're gonna work on our third card. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to do a couple of different watercoloring cards, because there's always something to do while I'm waiting. So I'm just going to set these aside, and this one, I didn't have one fully put together, but I also wanted to show how I did my stamp, because I cut out my cardstock first, and then I matched it up in this little circle here. And that is how I got my stamp where I wanted it to go. And so I just made a little template where, with our dies, and then before I inked up my stamp, I put it right where I wanted it to be on that little piece of cardstock right in that little template. And I take our Stamparatus and I can ink it up. And this time we are going to use Night of Navy to ink that up. So we just put our shimmery white cardstock right in the center there. And this one is a Night of Navy ink. And so we are going to close that up. And then I'm just going to put it right down, and I'm hoping that it is going to work, because it did fairly well the last time. Ooh, that one even got closer, I think. And so that is how I stamp that really tiny circle already cut out. Now you could do it in the reverse, and you could stamp it first and then run it through using your magnetic platform, and that would be great. It'll do just fine. But this is just another way to use our Stamparatus, a tool that I think benefits every type of crafter. So I always like to show that off whenever I can, because I know that it has made a world of a difference for several of my friends, and I love what I've learned how to do with it. So I'm gonna put that one back on its case so that I remember where to put it away. I'm gonna blow my nose really fast. I'm sorry. The sniffing was bugging me to death. So I will try really hard not to be a sniffly mess for you guys. But this one was also a really small card in the catalog. It was just it looked almost like a 3x3 card, but I wanted to make it a full-size card. And so I decided to cut out, these circles are cut out with the Layering Circles Framelits, and I used these two dies to do that. And so when it lines up, it has a little bit of a border behind it. And then instead of using the, I think they even used a Night of Navy thread. I don't have that right now, and I really like to use my burlap. So I thought it would be fun to have the burlap be a feature behind there. So this is a really simple thank you card, and even with the size of our sentiment and things, it could be a little too simple for some, but we are going to put together our little thank you in this area here, and then we might add a couple of other embellishments, but I haven't practiced. So, hey buddy, how you doing? It's the day before school for my kiddos, and so they have not been in bed very long. Here, you can hug mommy, but then you need to go back to bed, okay? I love you. I don't think you're very awake right now. Okay? I love you. Do you want to go lay in my bed until it's time? You can go in and lay in Mama's bed, okay? Thanks, buddy. All right. That is the same little one who has visited us before on my lives. He doesn't always know that he's getting up in the middle of the night, so we're still kind of working on figuring some of that out. So, you never know when he's going to come upstairs and find us. So I'm going to cut off some of our burlap here. And what I want to do is I want to put the burlap, I think I want to put it between it. And so I thought it would be kind of fun to have a couple of loops that come out from the sides, and so we can do it kind of like that. Here, let's see. This is what happens. I'll tell him you said hi, Layla. That's my sister. So so we'll do it like this, and we'll just tape it down, and then I can trim those edges. There we go. You know, when I'm doing this on the fly, I don't think that it's gonna be this difficult, but that is how it goes. Okay, so I'm gonna cut that, trim that down, and then we'll try to hide it behind our sentiment here. Hi, Terry. I'm getting so excited to come and see you. We're going to see Terry on Friday because her son is getting married. One of our students when we were in student ministry. So I'm sure that you are holding yourself together barely this week. But I'm so excited to come and see you and get to celebrate Ben and Adrian. So I still can't believe he's getting married. I told Jeff that I will probably be in denial about it until the end, till it's official. So I'm very excited for them. So I'm gonna change things up, and because our sentiment is so small there, I might meld that a little bit. We are going to hold it down with some glue dots instead and kind of build it up. So because it's with burlap, we are going to use some glue dots, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hide it behind it there, and with this one we'll do the same thing, except I did it backwards. There we go. So I'm gonna put a glue dot on both ends there. You guys get to see some of my improvising, because everybody knows that we improvise so often in the crafting world that sometimes when we're making things, we know what we're doing. And sometimes when I'm doing this, I'm like, how did I even do that? Oh my goodness, you guys. Take a deep breath, because these things happen when you're live. There we go. That's better. So I apologize for that crazy thing that just happened. But that is what happens when you are crafting and you're live. Here, we'll do 2 glue dots. I'll do another one on that. Okay, we're gonna do another one. Okay, so now we're gonna pull out some Stampin' Dimensionals and fasten this card together, and hopefully it won't be mad at us anymore. All right, so I am just gonna pull these. These dimensionals are actually from an old paper pumpkin kit that I had finished, and I had used other dimensionals, so I moved them. And actually, I think these are a little bit more of the sturdy kind, so they must have been for a box or something. I don't know. The ones that come in the paper pumpkin kit sometimes feel a little bit different than the ones that come in our normal annual catalog. But I went through a whole bunch of my crafty things, and I gave a couple to my daughter, who's 13, to use just to give friends and things. So that is what we are going to do. And it's not even, and it's probably going to bother me, but that's all right, because I tried something new. So what we're going to do is we're going to fasten down our beautiful designer series paper from the Garden Impressions DSP. This is probably my favorite piece out of there. So when I saw that card in the catalog that was made with this specific design on it, I knew that I wanted to make those cards. So I thought now is the perfect time to put that together. So I wanted to show you, vellum can be super tricky when it comes to using adhesive. So I thought that I would show you what I do to adhere my vellum to cardstock without it being seen from the outside of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the glue dots and use them on the back of my sentiment here. I'm going to put on probably 4 or 5 in the different corners here. I'm trying really hard to stay in the frame. I'm sorry if I'm getting you out of it. So we're going to put that on our vellum right here. And then what I do is I will put, there we go, that's not quite sticking to that burlap. I will put a little bit of, good grief, this is not the ideal way to do it, but that is what I have done in the past. Now I'm just going to rub it where it went past. So I put adhesive right in that circle there where I want it to hold down, and then the vellum will be loose on the edges, but it'll be held down right in that spot pretty decently. So that is just fine with me. So I think what I want to do is add a couple of embellishments. Maybe some, yeah, we'll do some of these sequins. They have some really pretty ones that are that seafoam green color. So I'm going to grab my paper piercer here, and add a couple sequins on here to this card. And I don't mind that the vellum wants to pop up on the edge there. That doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, you can always take a glue dot and put it in the corner to hold it down, and maybe add a, I could actually, here, I'll show you something. Since we're using these little pretties, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a glue dot with our paper piercer, and we're gonna stick it right behind where we put those sequins at. So that will hold it down a little bit more. So if you don't want to put the sequins in the corners and you want them to just be randomly and spread out, you can take your glue dot and put it down right under your sequin, and then you will not be able to see it. But it also gives you a little bit more of a hold for your card. So that is how I have done it in the past. And that'll just hold that vellum down a little bit more secure. So that is one of our cards for tonight. And now we will check on our watercoloring that is drying right now. So I'm gonna check behind me to see. It looks like the second one that we were doing with the Bermuda Bay and the Coastal Cabana, that one is ready to go. So we will work on card number 2 with that. So here we go. So what I did with this is I just wanted to get 2 colors that were pretty complementary to this, but I think I want to put some white behind it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out my, let's see if I have some, I'm going to get my paper trimmer here and measure out my paper. There we go. Let's do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my card that is already cut to the size that I want it, and I'm going to make a mat for it. And so I'm going to measure it here and then put it on my paper trimmer. We'll do that. We'll do 3 3/4 and just cut a little mat for that piece to go on, just to kind of break up the fact that it's not, we didn't use the exact color of ink, and so that will give it a little bit, it'll kind of trick your eyes a little bit. So that is how that is going to layer, and then we are going to put this over the top of it. Now that also softens up that color quite a bit. And this is going to go over that, but we're going to first add our leaves behind it. So we're going to put those there. So we'll just build this card up. But for this, we used the watercolor paper, and we used the Coastal Cabana on the top and Bermuda Bay on the bottom. Our card base is the mint macaron color. And this is from, that cutout is from our Beautiful Layers Thinlits dies. That is probably one of my new favorites. So we're going to use our snail adhesive first to put down our layers. And this one is on the watercolor paper. So because we did it, we did the whole piece of watercolor got painted with our aqua painter. We're going to do the whole, we'll see if I'm going to run out. That would be bad. I might have to, because I have more adhesive coming, but it won't be here for a while. So I might have to use my backup, which is my ATG gun. So we're going to put that on there. And because we want to build this layer up, we're going to probably just add this one. And we'll do our adhesive right in the center there and put that how we want it, since these layers are flat. So we'll put that in the center there, and we'll use our snail adhesive to hold that one down as well. I know it's getting close. It's saying I'm going to run out. So we will put this one on here. I love those colors together. I'm so glad I tried this. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is I want to have, let's see, I wanted to cut out a couple, if I can find my vellum, because I moved it. I wanted to cut out a couple of vellum leaves for you, just to show you how much I love this punch. But of course, when I want to do that, my vellum is missing. So here we go. I used this to kind of start prepping some, but I didn't cut all the pieces out that I wanted because I wanted to just show you how fast and easy these punches are. And even with vellum that can be kind of finicky with certain punches, it wants to kind of stick inside. These punches are amazing. And this leaf punch I have used, oh goodness, it's probably my most used punch actually. I use my circle framelits more than I use my circle punches, and I use my leaf framelit so much. So what we're gonna do is, because we want the leaf to kind of come out quite a bit, we're going to adhere each one individually with a glue dot and put it on the underneath part of our circle, just so that I know how much is sticking out from it. And so we're gonna do 3 on the bottom right, and 2 on the top. So what we're gonna do is do 3. So we'll just kind of fan them out there. This is just gonna, I love how the vellum is, actually I might move that one. We're gonna move it, do it over a little bit. The vellum, I love that you can just see through it, so you don't lose a lot of what you worked on in the back, but you can still see the beautiful color through it. So that's one of my favorite things about vellum. So we are going to put the last 2 on the opposite side up here. Let's see, right here. And here, I'll set that one aside. You only need 5. So, and then we'll do this one over here. My nap was a little bit shifted today because we had an all-church picnic at our church after the service was over today. And so it didn't start early enough. And so I did not sleep as long because I wanted to work on these projects. But it's the day before school, and so I just did not factor in enough time to prep the kids, to get them ready for bed and make sure that they were going to bed early and that sort of thing. And we have some before school jitters flying through my house where everybody has been counting down the days and they've been very excited. And then all 3 of them at some point today told me how nervous they were for school. So I figured that is only natural for them to have those feelings of going back to school. So we are just gonna pop up the circle, and then we'll use glue dots to put down our sentiment here in the center of our white circle. So super easy, and those Thinlits do so much of the work in this card. The watercoloring, you guys watched how easy that was. We just did a watercolor wash on the background, but the end result of this card is so super pretty. So I am super excited with that one. So this is our card number 1 and card number 2, and I'm gonna look behind me to see how our watercoloring is doing for our card number 3. It looks like it might have finished drying. So that is the finished. It's a little bit wet in the background, but it's not too bad. But when you are touching it afterwards, you need to remember that this is very fine powder, and there's a pretty good chance that all of it did not get saturated. So if you take a tissue to your Brusho on top, just to try to pick up any extra water, it will do just that. So it just can come up and then it won't get all over your fingers and all over your envelope and all over everything. So we will pull out our, let's see, my table. I'm not a super messy crafter, but you know, when you're trying to seem like you're organized, that's probably when you will prove yourself that you're not. So what I want to do with this, because I don't have the piece from the catalog that is the border, I thought that we could use, let me see if this is the one. This one is the leaf. I figured that we might be able to try the leaf on the side and just have the little loops coming out from the side and just kind of attach it like that. That would be a fun little interest that we could put on it, and just do 2 of them with white cardstock. Otherwise, if we used the pop of petals, is that what it's called? No, Petals and More, that's what it is. If we wanted to use this Thinlit from the Petals and More, we could do that on the side of it, and that would be a little bit longer in the center. So out of these 2, do you want the bigger one or the little one? What is your vote? We'll just take a vote here quick. And I'll move my Big Shot over to do a little bit with the Big Shot today. So I'm going to scooch this over. So if anyone wants to do the big one or the little one, we'll see if you guys have an opinion. And I will set my Big Shot up. Now that I have my camera attached to a different counter, I don't have to be quite as careful. The bigger one. Okay, there's one vote for the bigger one. Does anybody else have an opinion, or we'll go with that one? That's the one I was more leaning towards just from the look in my head. This one is the bigger one. All right, there's 2. We'll just go with it. So I'm going to stick that in. Now I have my magnetic platform here with our precision base plate right on top, and we are going to use one very well loved plate to put over the top of it as we run it through our Big Shot. And I'm going to do it 1 and then 2, and I like to do it 3, 4. Just when we have these tiny, tiny little circles that we're trying to get through here, it sometimes can go through some of them, depending on my plate and how well loved it is how well the hold gets. So we will take our die brush. I'll show you what that one is after I put my dies away before they get lost, because that happens too. So I'll set this Big Shot back over here, and I will show you our die brush. I used it on all of the intricate dies that I cut out for tonight, but this one, you just take the die brush and run it through over the top of it. Now, my die brush is very old. I got it at the first bit when the new catalog, or when they put it in the catalog, and it likes to grab onto my paper. Now, those are popping out really, really easily, but sometimes when I have a couple that are a little bit stubborn, I will get my paper piercer, wherever I put that, there it is, to get the others that might be a little bit more stubborn. And so if you don't have the die brush and you have a paper piercer or some paper snips, those will do the trick. But I have found that when you run it through several times, our die brush does a really, really nice job. So let me move this back over and get out our card to go again. And we will see what this looks like on the back here. And what we're going to do is we might even leave a little bit of the point there. I think that's super pretty. So we will take some, I'm just going to take some normal kitchen tape, if I can find where I put it, underneath my mess of crafting stuff. So I know I had it out, but oh, it's right here. I am blind. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our image here, and we are going to tape down with just normal Scotch tape right here, and then we will do our snail adhesive right over the top of it. So that is super pretty, what we're going to do there. So what we did on that is we used the red, the brilliant red Brusho and the yellow Brusho to get that color, and we hardly did any on there, but it's a little goes a very, very long ways. So the image that we're gonna stamp here is, I think we're gonna see, earlier today I tried this little one, but I think that we could get a bigger one in there. And so we're gonna try it. I don't know that we can get that big one. Let's see. It might go over the edge, but I think that might be okay with me. So we're gonna pull out our Stamparatus for this one and just use that really quick to ink up our sentiment. So I'll set our card aside up here for a second. And this is from the template from the other card that we worked on. So I will pull that back and we will put that sentiment on. So I'm going to put our magnet right there and push down on our sentiment with the front or the top plate. And now we are going to use our Poppy Parade ink pad here. This is one of my favorite colors from the new colors, the new inks that were brought back. This one, I guess, used to be an in color from before I started back up with Stampin' Up. So I had not seen that color before, so I know I would have loved it from the other time that I saw it, but that came out super pretty. I'm so glad we went with the bigger one. So we will just take our, where did I put it? My Simply Chamois to clean up that stamp. And you can see how loved my chamois is. But I love it. I love it. It does a really nice job. All squeaky, squeaky. So I'm so thankful for it because baby wipes were just not doing the job. Not good enough anyways. So what we're going to do is I want to set this aside and I will take care of that stamp later. So I love this Thinlit. So I wanted to show that one as well. I think I have it up here. This one is from the Stitched Labels Framelits dies, and it comes with lots of beautiful, beautiful stitched designs, and so that is definitely a favorite from the new catalog. So what I want to do, since we have a really pretty focal point, we're going to put that close to the edge on here, and I'm going to just adhere that down with snail adhesive. And actually, we're going to just, I think it'll let us go the rest of the way. So we're going to put quite a bit of adhesive down on this because we don't want it to buckle. And so I'm going to do 3 full strips of the snail on our watercolor piece here. And we're going to do this up in the corner as far, just to leave a little tiny border on the top and on the right side for that. And then we're going to pop this one up with dimensionals, but I want to put some metallic thread behind it. And I just got a really special package in the mail from my upline and my friend Robin Cardin for advancing to silver. So she made me this really pretty card, and she gave me a package that had a whole bunch of silver things in it. And it's so thoughtful of her to spoil her teammates when they advance. And so I'm just really thankful for her. And so to get mail that is crafting stuff is always fun anyway. But when you are doing what you love to do and you aren't doing it for the special prizes, it's still really fun to get them. So I want to do a little bit of looping on this, just to give some of that shimmer, because this is the, let's see, what is this called? Silver Baker's Twine. So this, I'm pretty sure you can get it in our annual catalog. It might, I haven't purchased it yet, so that was one thing I was super excited to get when I saw it, because it is not something I had. Yeah, it's right here. So Silver and Whisper White Baker's Twine. So that is what we are using for this card, and we are just going to do some fun loops. So I'm going to start with just sticking down a piece of tape on it, and then we'll just kind of go around putting down little loops. And I'm not going to do really big pieces of tape, just so that it has a little bit of interest in the background. And we'll do a few different loops on this side. There. And I'm just so not used to my house being this quiet at this time of night. With school coming. I know that it was coming, that it was gonna get quiet, but it seems so quiet out there. So we are just gonna do a few different loops on this side, and then we will do a few different loops on the other side. Just something simple. This is me. This is how I usually will work through what I want to do when I'm creating. Is I sometimes have a little bit of a vision in my mind of where I want it to go, but a lot of times it's not until I sit down with it and practice it out do I even know which direction I want to go with it. So this could not have been more perfect as far as how much I had already cut. So I'm sorry if I put it out of the frame. I'm so sorry. I kind of forgot how far away you guys were. Okay, so that is our little loops, and we are just gonna pop that up with Stampin' Dimensionals here, and we'll just kind of put them in the little center area. I'm sorry if my head was getting all over the place. Over some of the twine just to help hold it down. But I am usually pretty generous with my Stampin' Dimensionals. So, but again, one of the reasons why I wanted to do these cards is just to show when you receive these catalogs in the mail, sometimes when you're looking at them, you're looking at the stamp set. But if you really just sit, hi Nate, if you sit and look at some of these and look around to see what products you have on hand, or the ones that stick out to you, there are so many different things that you can do with them. And you might not be able to do it exactly how the catalog is, but there are so many possibilities when it comes to crafting, and you don't have to have everything perfect. So I always want to encourage just trying what you have and seeing what you can do. So this is our third card. So let me grab, I'm putting my twine away so that I don't forget which bag it goes in and where it belongs. So, okay. So what we did tonight was we used Brusho crystal color on this image back here. And I'll fold that up and you can see that up close. That we used the brilliant red and yellow for the background here. We embossed with, I embossed with a white embossing powder before we started tonight, just to kind of give us a little bit more time to create. And then we used the Poppy Parade ink on this image here. So that is what we used for this card. So that was our third card today. Our second card, we did a watercolor wash using a card of mint macaron as the background, but this color is Coastal Cabana and Bermuda Bay, and we used the Beautiful Layers Thinlit dies for that card. So that is the Thinlits that we used on that one. Our third card, we used the stitch shape or the stitched labels framelits. So that's what we used on that card, just as a little bit of a reminder. And then this was the first card that we did, our really simple one that we put together while our watercolor was drying. So those are the three cards that we worked on tonight. I hope you guys like them all. And I hope that you were inspired by something that we worked on tonight, that watercoloring doesn't have to be super intimidating, and you can get a pretty big POW with something really, really simple. So don't be afraid of it. It's super easy. And so I hope you guys enjoyed our time tonight, and I will see you next week. I am still planning on being live even after going out of town next weekend to our friend's wedding. So I'm going to try really hard to have something ready Sunday after our church service. So I'll be thinking as we're on the road at what I want to create with you guys. If you have any questions or suggestions or things that you are curious of or would like to know more about, please leave me a comment under this or on my page, and we will, I'll see what I can do. If there's something that you've seen in the catalog that you want to see made in real time, I will totally see what I have and we can work on it together. So I hope you guys have a good night and a wonderful week, and I will see you all again soon. Bye.